In NFL Week 8, the New Orleans Saints will host NFC South rivals Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, can the Saints get their edge back at home and start being competitive again? Or will it be an impossible task to keep the game close, much less even find a victory? Well, we'll break it down now. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So, we're going to start by looking at Tampa Bay's defense versus the Saints offense. Todd Bowles is the head coach. He's also basically the defensive coordinator. As far as I can tell, they don't have a named defensive coordinator. But you look at their coaching staff; they have a really good mix of young, or especially on the defensive side, where we're talking about now, really good mix of coaches who have been around a while, plus some young guys, and kind of assuming he's probably got some responsibilities easily divvied up, where it's not a big deal that he doesn't have a named defensive coordinator. He's a play caller. He runs the show. He was their defensive coordinator before he was hired, just elevated to head coach. So knows what he's doing, and everybody knows what you're getting, except with a little twist that he added this year. But you're getting it's a hybrid defense where they'll shift from a 3-4 to a 4-3 front. But unlike others, he's still, regardless of which front he's in, they're a one gap defensive team on the line and not a two gap. Um, and basically, that's one gap is as it states, defensive lineman one on one with an offensive lineman trying to beat a block. He's going to stay in the A gap or the B gap or the C gap. Whereas two gap is nose guard that handles both A's or defensive tackle slash defensive ends that handle the B and the C. So he's not playing that game. It's one gap regardless of if he's got an even or an odd man front. He uses simulated pressures and he'll disguise pressures when he's blitzing. You'll rarely see a telegraph blitz coming. He's always been very good about that. He can bring a risk reward attacking style of defense. That's what he was known for initially when he first a defensive coordinator, especially out of the 3-4, being very, very aggressive, very orientated, a lot of man. That style in the NFL is not as prevalent anymore, and he's adjusted over the years. So he can bring, more of the coverage based style where the back end is covering. He's pretty much using his down lineman to handle the pressure, especially in third down, where he used to blitz heavily, not as much as he used to. And it seems this year that he's mixing more coverage, um, or he's using more coverage and mixing in blitzes, where previous years in the further back you go, the more this was incredibly true. Where it was more like he brought blitzes and then occasionally mixed in coverage. But he's kind of balanced, but or more balanced than he had been in the past. But ultimate thing with Todd Bowles, and he's always been like this. He keeps his defenses flexible, so you have to expect any version. Um, Classic example being is when Tampa Bay beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl. He brought out very much a coverage based, not much blitzing defense, and caught a lot of people, especially the KC side, by surprise. Worked out well, so he's not above going. Hey, we can make some drastic changes when we need to, or if we need to, and they can do it on the fly in the middle of a game. If what they're doing is not working, they're not going to keep doing it. They're going to change it and try to do something that does work. And the reason why he can be like this, he's got studs on every level of that defense. It's a very good defense when it's healthy, and it's going to come into the Superdome not quite healthy. Um, I Yaya Diaby, I love that name. Um, Edge rusher, he's got 4 sacks. He leads the team. Hassan Reddick is going to be out for this game, so we catch a little bit of a break there because that's two very good edge rushers, and again, they're very good no matter what front he's playing. So we're going to miss one of them. Defensive tackle, that interior is anchored by Vita Vey, who Saints fan know very, very well because he kills us. Vita Vey owns the Saints. He just is disruptive and seems to have big games against us. Always a problem for us. He didn't practice this week. Listed as questionable for Sunday, and this is as of Friday afternoon. I got a feeling if he's anywhere close to being able to go, he's gonna go. That's a tough dude. It's a foot injury, which on big man can be problematic, but unless it's really, really serious, I expect to see some version of Vita Vey. I would be surprised if he's inactive for the game instead of active. So I'm expecting he's going to be out there, but we'll see because I'm not a doctor and I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know the extent of the injury. But I know he's a tough, tough man, and, and he has big games against us. He's probably really wants to be on the field. Linebackers, Savorcia Dennis, Levante David, two good ones. Dennis is their leading tackler on the team. David, fourth in tackles and still a playmaker out there. He comes up with big plays right now, 2.5 sacks, and he has an interception on the year. Two couple of good corners in McCollum and Dean. McCollum and Dean, really, really good. They can cover, they can tackle, they pretty versatile in what Todd Bowles wants to do. They can handle it. And as a safety duo, they got two scary dudes. Tyke Smith, second leading tackler on the team. He has 2 sacks, fumble recovery. We all know about Antoine Winfield Jr. Great free safety. He's caused us massive problems in the past. He keeps that back end clean. It's not going to be all that different than when we just faced in Chicago rather with Bayard and Brisker. Very much a similar pair. One's obviously the free safety. One obviously operates a little more in the box, but make no mistake about it, they can switch those roles as needed. Pre-snap, post-snap, show you one thing, give you something else. They like Chicago. A lot of what you saw in Chicago, you're going to be able to see on Sunday with those two guys. They're good. So when you look at the Saints' offense versus their defense, excuse me, we have the 23rd total offense at 297.9 yards a game. They're the 17th defense overall. They only give up only they give up 328 yards a game. Passing, we're 197.8 versus they defend at 239.3. Rushing, we run still after the abysmal showing in Chicago, 100.1 a game. They defend 99.6 yards a game. Scoring, 17.9. I mean, we're still shy of 20. That's a big problem. They give up 25 a game. Red zone, we convert at 45%. They give it up at 66.7%, which is kind of surprising. Now, again, this is red zone efficiency is pretty much touchdowns and field goals, so bear that in mind. And we're not good scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Well, if you want any chance to win, yet again, we say this, I think every week now, you got to score touchdowns in the red zone. Last week we couldn't get in there. The one time we got in, we did score a touchdown, which was good. Gonna have to you got to score touchdowns against these guys, otherwise you ain't winning. Third down, it's a dead heat tie. We convert at 36.8%. They allow conversions at 36.8%. So first time all year that I can think of, we're gonna roll in with on offense where third down isn't a glaring weakness. We're about dead even with the team that we're gonna play. So on paper, when you look at that, our offense against their defense, I mean, numbers wise, it looks fairly close in a lot of areas, but deep down, we know how good that defense really is. Um, they've had injury issues, Tampa Bay, since I think before they kicked the season off, both sides of the ball. And when injuries were piling up on one side, I think it was affecting the other side. I don't think we've seen the best version of that Tampa Bay defense in the first 7 weeks. Um, Don't know if we'll see it Sunday or not, but if we do, then we're going to be in huge trouble. So when you talk about Tampa Bay's offense versus the Saints defense, their offensive coordinator, first time OC Josh Grizzard, uh, he was hired by Miami in 2017. It's the first job in the NFL as a quality control coach, which a lot of time is your first coaching job in the NFL, basically kind of the intern starting job. 2021, he got promoted up, and in 2021, he became the wide receivers coach. Through 23 and 24, former OC for Tampa, Liam Cohn, hired him as the pass game coordinator. Then when Cohn took the Jaguars job this offseason, they promoted Grizzard up to OC. So he's continuing at least through this first year, a lot of what Cohn had installed in that it was not unlike what we were doing, very similar into Kubiak last year, not 100% similar, but a lot of the same style of that West Coast based kind of passing game, a lot of zone, especially wide zone runs. He's brought in a little more gap into to the running game. For the passing game, he's kind of kept a lot of the same principles with one big difference. It's still shotgun heavy. They're still going to do a lot of play action because they want to run the ball. Mobile quarterback with an arm. He's got that in Baker Mayfield plus some. So there will be bootlegs. There will be RPOs. Will sometimes be design runs for him. Still want that high percentage in that West Coast style, that high percentage short to medium passing game. Take what the defense gives you. Receivers go get yak. Want the completion percentage to be 70 plus. But through 7 games, it seems like he's added a little twist and having a rookie wide receiver like Mika Ibuka and possibly another rookie wide receiver by the name of Tez Johnson, ability to go downfield and catch balls. They are opening up the passing game a little more than they had been under, it seems, under Cohn. So through those first 7 weeks, seems like he's really, really looking to take some deep shots and really get a vertical passing attack downfield a little more than what we've seen the last 2 years out of Tampa. Look, when you got Baker Mayfield, since he's shown up in Tampa, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and there ain't nothing going on right now. And I change my opinion, or I think anybody else's. He's played very well. He doesn't have Bucky Irvin. Mike Evans just unfortunately broke his collarbone in Monday Night Football. He's out. Godwin still isn't back. It's 3 big weapons that they're missing on offense, but it's not really a worry because you got Rashad White, who's a really good running back, as the number 2 there. That's going to be handling the running, and the aforementioned Ibuka, he's their number 1 receiver anyway all year, regardless if the other 2 are healthy or not. In my opinion, he's the guy you got to worry about, even when the other ones are on the field. And you don't have to worry about Tez Johnson. He, due to the injuries, because Evans had an hamstring issue earlier, he's come on a little bit the last few weeks, making some catches. He's up to like 10 for 170, so he's averaging 17 yards a catch. Caught a big touchdown pass a couple of weeks ago over the top. Again, something that Tampa Bay's trying to add to that offense. Veteran Sterling Shepard is still solid. He's getting 10 yards a pop average on a catch. It's got to grab the touchdown. And Saints fans know that Tampa Bay tight ends and running backs have been killing us for years. So regardless of what their names are, but Cade Otton at tight end and Sean Tucker is going to be the backup to White. They both had big games against us in the past. So there's no reason to believe they can't do it again. In fact, Tucker crushed us in that week 6 game when they came in last year for the first meeting of the year. So look, just because the big names are not playing, the supposed smaller names, they can still ball too and can present a problem. This offense, I think, would be better when we were comparing numbers, or will be in a minute. But that offensive line, which is normally one of the best in football, has been just Tristan Wirfs missed a lot of time in camp and time in the beginning of the season. They've had issues with their interior linemen, their guards, I believe, in particular, stacking up injuries. They're a 5-2 team with a pretty decent offense that's never had their full offensive line that they were planning on having, and I don't think they're going to have it this week. One of their guards, Luke Haggard, is out. And not being familiar with Tampa Bay and just having to go back and kind of try to figure out some depth charts and injury reports and stuff in the last couple of days that I honestly haven't deciphered all the way. I think Haggard is a backup to a backup that they have on IR. So they fallen down another rung. And I know at various times they were missing some of their other offensive line. So whatever advantage that gives us, you better take advantage of it as quick and as often as you can, because that even with a lot of injury problems, really on both sides of the ball, complimentary football, they've still been able to kind of power through it and be a really good team. Just not healthy enough, I don't think, to reach the full scary potential that they could be. So when you look at the numbers, Saints defense, number 19 total. Their offense is number 16 overall in total yards. We give up, rounded up to 336. They pick up, rounded up to 339, about 3 yards difference between the two. Passing, we give up 206. They get 239. Rushing, we give up 129. They run for a little less than 100 at 99.6. So numbers not that far off, really, overall. Scoring, we give up 26.6 a game. They score 24.9 a game. Not that far off. Red zone, our defense gives up scores at 58.3%. They scored a 50% clip. Third down, we allow conversions at 39%. They convert at 38.2. The second time that we've had an advantage on a team on third down number efficiency numbers, although slight, teeny tiny slight. So I mean, technically, yeah, we have the better numbers on third down and pretty close to better numbers on red zone. Most of the other offensive and defensive numbers are the same or close to it. Or if there's a gap, it's not. There's one or two where it's kind of huge, and those will be the margins you got to cover if you're the Saints. But for the most part, we don't lead in any of them really. But the majority of them, we're right there with the production that they're getting or giving up. But they got two big differences that helps them win football games that we don't. That hurts us. When you look at penalties, we're the ninth most penalized team in the NFL. We're getting better because for the 3 weeks run and plus, we were number one, but we fall in the ninth. So we're in the top 10. They're in the bottom 10 because they're 22nd most penalized team. Turnover margin, we're 13th in the NFL plus one. They're ninth in the NFL at plus four. So basically, if you wanted to average it per game, pretty much we give it up once per game, we get it back once per game on average, where they're taking it away once per game on average, but giving up a half a turnover per game. So that it's not necessarily a huge difference between us and them in the turnover margin, but if you can stay in that plus range consistently every week, and they do, and you stay out of penalty problems, which they do, you're going to give yourself, you be able to overcome some of the adversity that you're going to have during the course of a game and be able to overcome it when the team you're playing against isn't as good as you at not committing penalties and handling the turnover margin, which we aren't. One of the things that has plagued us, and because of penalties or turnovers, some close games we, especially at home, we had a shot at didn't turn out. Well, you're playing against a team that doesn't make those kind of mistakes. That's where it can be kind of problematic. So I don't I don't want to discount that they are a banged up team that played on Monday night. Um, we rolled through the players that are going to be out. Faye is questionable, didn't practice all week, but like I said, I'd be shocked if he can't figure out a way to get himself on the field. He's going to get himself on the field. Um, most teams, I think that would be a scary thought, but they're a good football team. They've been through this before. They've been fighting through these kind of issues, other than it being a short week. Been fighting through these issues most of the year anyway, and it doesn't seem to really phase them. Is there a chance we can catch them? Yeah. In fact, the only way I feel like we throw the paper away, if you legitimately look at these two teams player by player across every position, they're a lot better than us. So this would be the set of circumstances. You're at home, you're getting a banged up team that had a lot of guys on the injury report that are not listed as questionable or out or anything that are going to play. But you don't quite know what kind of shape they're in. Um, we're 100% healthy of who's available. Even we lost McCoy and Kendre Miller and got Ridgeway off of IR. He took McCoy's roster spot. So we're about as healthy as we've been all year with who's available with us. They're not quite. So the best case scenario would be, you kind of sneak up on them right here and go, okay, and give ourselves a shot. And I think that is the best case scenario. But I think the best case scenario Um, it's still looking like the same old of our all our previous home games because we'll show up, with signs of playing well at times in the game. Couple of quarters we'll play better than the other team. Typically in the second half, it happens. Um, but we're going to struggle to get 20 points while struggling to keep them under 24. So you're looking. I can't see anything playing out any differently this week. You know, other than the teams kind of change and the score is going to probably be a one score game. Some type of 24-19, 24-17, somewhere in there type situation. That just feels about right. Because again, on paper, this team is better than any of the other ones we played. I believe this season at home. And they all came in a lot better shape than Tampa Bay's coming in to play that game, and I think is going to keep it closer to what we've seen. If that's 100% fully healthy, hitting on all gears, Tampa Bay team, or even a mostly healthy, hitting on all gears. Yeah, I just don't think it would be a lot like Buffalo, but at home. I think you'd see a very similar situation unfold, and it still could. But I think we'll have enough in the tank and being at home under these conditions. Again, probably keep it within a score. Put a bow on it, tie it up. You know, tell you what I need to see on the Sunday since I'm really not. I'm again not expecting to win, but I think there'd be some value in this game. Comments below. Y'all let me know what you think the score is, and then I'll probably want to hear from you about what do you need to see because this is more just a personal take from me. But on Sunday, I need look big one right off the bat is I need to see Spencer Rattler return back to being Spencer Rattler before really that Chicago game, protecting the ball, making the right decisions because I think that's two things he did very well, despite anything else we may not have seen in any of the previous games. But also, he had started developing that taking the shots when they present themselves, and I think that was a little bit of his trouble in Chicago. He took some when they weren't there, or tried to, along with other more controllable issues like late throw or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Clean all that stuff back up and get back to being that solid and dependable were two words you could put on him up until the Chicago game. I want to be able to go back to saying at least he's that while we're trying to see and develop him. Because what I want to see on this list is all about development. Get back to developing him because I warned y'all when we started getting in here the conversations, and they should be about Chuck. We're going to start. They started. People were throwing out the B word. I'm not wanting to bench anybody unless it is deserved or the player behind them has earned the spot that they're taking, first and foremost. However, and I said this while I was saying it at the same time, but quarterbacks are the focal point. That goes for every position. Because, look, in Devin Neal, he was one of them I wanted to add on the list going, look, we're going to have to see what we got in him at some point. Unfortunately, the injury to Kendre Miller, which likely ends his time as a Saint with the torn ACL going. I don't know if he's going to be around for his fourth year. Um, so you need to see Devin Neal. So you're going to see him, but I need him to step seamlessly into this role now. Um, the larger role that he's going to get. And like I'm on record. I've got a video on it. I thought he was a steal of the draft, considering you got what, in my opinion, could be a very capable NFL running back in the sixth round. Really want to see him out there and see what he can do. And what I really need to see, and I'm being a little selfish here because I am saying he was the steal of the draft. I needed to see him more than a contributor. I need to see him getting out there and making some big plays for us. And really need to see more and more of all the young players. Now, what I mean by more and more, the guys that are basically starting, whether they're rookies or second or third year players, talking about Sanker and Riley, McKinstry, Brzee, Banks and Fuaga, guys like that. they're kind of the regulars, but I need to see them to. I mean, I think they this year have been making um, some pretty significant leaps and bounds of development. Now, sometimes it's a little ugly. They have some bad games, or they get hit by something that another coordinator or another player who's really really good comes in. And but I think for the most part, we're seeing improvement. And what I really like, I think we're seeing in all six of them, is really that kind of attitude of, okay, you got me on that play, or okay, New England got us last week in cover. We're going to step it up this week. Kind of that thing that Kellen Moore does preach that I agree with, that the NFL is all about overcoming adversity through making adjustments. And I think a lot of our young players are grasping onto that and actually doing it. So if they could all come back and have start stacking up some really solid, good, sprinkling some big plays in there, games back to back to back. That's something we haven't seen from most Saints players the last few years. Really want to see it from these guys that we're developing. And I'm gonna have to say I want to see more of Danny Stutzman and Isaiah Stallbert. Now, this is I don't know if anybody's even really talking about this. Um, what's kind of been sneakily going on at linebacker? They've brought it up in conversation in some of the media, but you know, keep looking at these two young men because can they kind of grow into that linebacking role? Um, not only as depth pieces, but look, we need a playmaker at linebacker. Honestly, we really don't have one right now. We desperately need one. I don't think we're. No offense to Demario, I think he's going to be good for what he can give you, but I'm talking consistently somebody that the defense has to worry about, and I don't, I don't think they worry consistently about Demario. They just want to know where he is, and then you know we're going to go find somebody else to pick on because he's not likely to do Demario things from 8 years ago where it didn't matter where he was. He could fly across the field and make a play. I don't think we're going to see very much of that out of him anymore. Puts the onus on everybody else. And sorry, I don't have the confidence in Pete Werner. And over the last 2 weeks, in week 6 versus New England, Werner typically logged 80+% snaps as long as he was healthy. And sometimes he could get to 90 or 100% on defense, including earlier this year with the new staff in. But in week 6 against New England, he had 59.4% of the defensive snaps. Staubert had 12.5%, and Stutzman had 9.4. Last week in Chicago, he dropped to 52.9%. Stutzman 23.5%. Staubert 8.8%. They're given opportunities, want to keep giving them opportunities for that chance to show what they can do. And if they can step it up and bring a not only solid linebacking play, because all honesty, that's what we do have in Demario Davis and Pete Werner. They're solid NFL linebackers. Believe me, there's worse NFL linebackers out there starting on teams. I wish they had one of those two. But we need more, or we need to develop more if we need to bring the whole defense back. Got to look at these young guys to do it. And quite honestly, I'm going to wrap it up with this thought. If they can step up and do it and then add a playmaking element to it, in my mind, that makes, like I said, there's teams out there that would probably go, yeah, we trade for Pete Werner come November 4th to stick him in our defense because we may have a playoff run in us. And that's where we need to upgrade. I'd like that choice to be there. In other words, as I said, I'm starting to sound like Mickey Loomis, as I'll mention in a second, as a commitment to developing these players. Because Mickey during the week gave an interview. He said the word development 18 times. Kellen Moore during the week, a couple of times, talked about this being a developmental year. They're finally admitting it. They're finally acknowledging kind of what we all knew. They want to use rebuild, fine. Development, that's fine too. I'm okay with that. And actually, I prefer development as a catchphrase for this. I think it's better connotations. I actually think it's a better plan than rebuilding. But if they're admitting to it, in my opinion, in this game, I finally need to see them own it. And what I mean by own it is not just saying it through the management and coaching staff, but actually applying it to the field and coming full circles with the players going week to week. We're really seeing, hey, these guys, maybe the team collectively can't get much better because just the way it's structured and everything else that's going on. And we may have to look down at the individuals and go, he's getting better. He's getting better. He's getting better. We've finally starting to get some players to build around. That's got to start against the Buccaneers on Sunday. So that's it for today. Gonna go with the throw it out there to y'all. It's a one score game. 24-19. I think that's the first one I threw out there. That's the one we'll stick with. So like I said in the comments, let me know what you think. Give me the prediction. Um, and let me know what y'all want to see out of this game. Realistically, of course. And if you realistically think you think we can win this game, we can pull it out. Hey, tell me all about it. I just I'll probably can see the point a lot of you are making. It's just call me doubting Tim. Um, just to the point where I'm not seeing enough on the field for me to be able to comfortably say to anyone going, yeah, I think they're going to win this week. Thought we were on the verge of it, but kind of backslid last week. So again, want to see development, want to see getting better. I feel like if individually we get better and get the right pieces on the field and the right scheme, coached up right, the results will take care of itself and we will sneak out some wins here or there, possibly one that we have no business winning. And, crazier things have happened both in the NFL and through some of the Saints' worst seasons. They managed to beat a team that you're going, how in the hell did that happen? So I expect at some point we'll get at least one of those. Just don't think it's going to be Sunday. So, first time here, like what you saw, please hit the like, share, subscribe, send all those wonderful signals to the algorithm. So keep growing the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you that come hang out with me 3 times a week. And next week, probably won't see anything on Sunday. Late game, and South Louisiana's got some horrible weather coming in all weekend, which means I will probably be intermittently losing power. I may not be able to watch the game. Who knows? Um, so probably be more of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule this week than a Sunday, Tuesday, Friday-ish like I had been doing. So just a heads up on that one. So till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.